Women are powerful creators. The Align Women podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. I'm your host, Amy Evans. I have authentic, intimate conversations with my guests that highlight their paths to success, their struggles and accomplishments, and the things that currently excite, motivate, and inspire them to turn their visions into reality. Welcome to the Align Women podcast. I'm Amy Evans, your host and the founder of Align Women, a leadership and networking organization for professional women. This podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. And with me today is Courtney Kallfelz. She is the founder of Courtney Co., which provides virtual assistant services, social media management, client communications management, and graphic creation. She's also the communications manager for Align Women. So she is very near and dear to my heart. I can attest to how good she is at what she does. And I'm really happy to have her on the podcast. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you, Amy. What an introduction.
Well, you are fabulous, and I love working with you. And I am really interested in sharing your story with people who might have interacted with you through Align Women, but don't know a lot about you. And one of the really unique things about you is that you are a military spouse. And I would love for you to share how you developed your company in the context of being a military spouse and needing to be flexible because you do move around the country depending on what's going on with your husband's military career. So talk about your process of learning to generate income in that environment and how you came to have the company that you do.
Yeah, so this is probably one of the best, I love talking about being a military spouse and having the career path that I have and how I got here, because it's so unique and it's uniquely challenging as well. As a military spouse, we sometimes aren't given enough credit, which is fine. We make it happen, right? But we have to control a lot of moving parts all the time. And there's constantly uncertain things going on that you have no control over. So being able to adapt and be flexible is really, really important. And I find that a lot of military spouses don't have the ability to have a career because you're moving all the time. I struggled with moving from job to job just because wherever the military takes my husband and I, that's where we go. We don't have a choice. And while it's so rewarding and I love our lifestyle, it did become a challenge for me to find my place. And I had always had these dreams and goals of doing something like building a career, or I originally wanted to be a nurse and I was so passionate about that, but everything happens for a reason. And so just being able to adapt and find my place has really been a blessing for me. And that's how I came about as a virtual assistant. I had tried different careers in different industries. I worked at a golf course. I worked in event planning at a big resort. I've done multiple things that I've loved, but I've never been able to work towards anything more than an entry-level position because we move every 3 years. So that is how I decided that I needed something remote. And before COVID hit, remote positions were very few and far between, and it was very hard to find a legit remote position. So I was able to get introduced to virtual assistant work through a contracting company, and it just started from there. So that's kind of what led me to create my own company, because I really am passionate about helping other military spouses find their purpose. And there's so many things that you can offer as a virtual assistant that you don't even probably know is possible until you start doing what you do.
And so you not only decided that you wanted a career that was more flexible for your military life, you started working as a contract virtual assistant. So you worked with a company that took admittedly a cut of your of the income of the fee that the client was paying. And then you
moved from that to starting your own company as a virtual assistant. And now you are developing a platform for other people, military spouses or not, to learn how to become virtual assistants as part of your brand. And I love that entrepreneurial spirit. I love that about you. And I know that you just finished recording the last piece of your online course. So talk about that for a minute. Tell me what that entails and when it'll be available and how people can find more information about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started doing virtual assistant work, I learned a lot in about maybe 6 to 8 months. And since I started. And so as I was learning these things, I had a mentor who helped me along the way. She's also a military spouse and owns her own public relations company. But I came across this epiphany, I guess, that I know there's virtual assistant courses out there, but I would get asked time and time again, Courtney, how did you learn to do what you're doing? And I'm like, experience, really. Mm-hmm. So I saw an opportunity and I ran with it. So that's where the course came into play. I really want to have something that is accessible. It's easy. It's self-paced and just a downloadable course that anybody can access if they're wanting to invest a little bit of money in themselves to get started, because there's a lot of things that you don't think about, or you might not even know when you're an independent contractor and you're starting out as a virtual assistant. There's a lot of things that it took me many months to learn. And so my thought was, if I could put it into one course that was not too long and lengthy, but, able to go back and forth and learn, take notes, and just get a really good foundation behind what it takes to be a virtual assistant, I wanted to be able to offer that. And I wanted it to be at a price that is obtainable for anybody who's just starting out. So it's very affordable. It will be accessible through a downloadable link on my website where you can pay a one-time fee and you get it for life. So you can utilize that and go back and forth, learning as you go, or however fast and however slow you want to go. So it should be available here in the next week or two. Once I get it up and running, I will be sharing it on my website and then also on social media, which I know you're going to be sharing that too. So
of course, of course. And I mentioned that you are the communications manager for Align Women, and you do a brilliant job. So anybody who's interacted with the podcast or networking masterminds has had interaction with you. And you are also a very active part of the Align Women Facebook community. So if you want an example of what Courtney can offer, that's a great way to interact with her and see the quality of the work that she does. Almost all the graphics that Align Women has were created by Courtney too. So she's super talented. And I want to ask you a question that I have posed to you. You knew I was going to ask you, but I don't know the answer, and I'm really interested in hearing it. My experience working with you, one of the things that I love about you is that you are very invested in what I'm doing and what my company is doing. And that makes you a really valuable asset. And while you're not an employee of Align Women, you are an incredibly important part of the team as our communications manager, even working remotely. And I think people have the perception sometimes that VAs can be I don't know, just sort of basic administrative work, and sort of, you throw sort of data projects at them and just wait for them to turn things around. And my experience working with you is that you are very invested. You're very thoughtful about what we're doing. You catch mistakes I make all the time, which I appreciate. You have creative sparks where you say, hey, I was thinking we could do this, or I created a graphic for that. And that is it's such a wonderful experience for me because I'm so invested, obviously, in what my organization's doing. So my question for you, after all of those compliments, my question for you is, how do you cultivate an investment in the multiple clients that you work with? What recommendations would you have for other people looking to be VAs that they can cultivate that as well, which will make them so much more valuable to the people that they're working with?
Yeah. So I love this question. And it really comes down to having the passion in the work that I do. When I have a client, new or old, or been with them for many months, I really do take their business into my hands as if it was my business. And so having that investment, and I really care about the success of my clients' businesses, because I realize the importance of having somebody there to give tasks to or help have ideas that might create new opportunities. And really and truthfully, I just have so much passion behind being a virtual assistant and helping my clients that it really doesn't even feel like a job, which is amazing. But I think it's really important because I know people are hesitant to hire virtual assistants because you're behind a screen and you might not ever meet that person in person. And it's just so important to have that relationship that really is caring and compassionate, and you just want the best for your client. So really and truthfully, it just comes back down to the passion that I have and wanting to see my client's business succeed in whatever they do. So the symbol of Courtney Keiko is an anchor. And I really do believe that being the anchor of your client's business, it's amazing. And it gives them hope. You provide strength and, security to know that everything's going to be fine. I got your back. So I absolutely love what I do. And I think that's where that unique relationship comes between me and my clients.
You are so good at that. That totally makes sense. I imagine also you're careful about the clients that you choose to work with, so that you can have that level of investment. And that's a hard thing to do in any brand new business, because when someone wants to generate revenue and wants to build a client base, it's easy to take on anything that comes your way. And the careful cultivation of your client base is one of the things that allows you to have that level of investment.
Right. Yeah. I think it's so important too, to note that when you're just starting out, like you said, you do want to take on every client that gets put in your path. But at the same time, I tell people all the time, don't be afraid to fire a client, if you will. It's not a bad thing, but you have to have that confidence that I teach in my course, that having the confidence to know it's okay if you aren't a fit for everybody, because you know what, you're not going to be a fit for everybody, and that's okay. But somebody else out there is. And that is why I really want to help other people get to that point, because I know that every client that comes to me is not going to be my client, the client for me. But I know that there's other people out there that can help them, and personality matters. So yeah, having that good relationship and feeling that you're a good fit for each other is really important too.
Yeah. So I asked you a question in preparation for this that I ask all my guests, which is, what's advice you would give to your 20-year-old self? And asking you that makes me laugh, because you're not that far off from your 20-year-old self, which is another thing I appreciate about you. And I would also encourage other entrepreneurs to consider. I mean, I'm 49, so Courtney's half my age. I will freely admit that. But the what she brings to the way that my organization communicates and the way that she puts graphics together, she has a different level of experience than I do. She has a different experience with social media than I do. And that's really valuable. And I think that considering the assets that someone in a VA position can bring, if they're younger, if they've got an entrepreneurial spirit like she does, like that's one of the things that you bring to the table that I really appreciate. So I celebrate your being half my age, and that your 20-year-old self isn't all that far away. What you said when I asked you that question was, never compare yourself to anyone around you. You're your own success, and every person has their own journey. And I think that's such wise advice. And I will tell you, that's pretty much what everyone says, no matter what their age is. They wish they would have learned that sooner. So how did you learn that? What was your journey in understanding that comparison was, as my husband says so sagely, the thief of joy? Comparison is the thief of joy. How did you learn that?
Yeah. So you're right. I just turned 26. And so to me, I feel like an old soul. I feel like I'm in my 30s, but I'm clearly not. So finding that, not settling for other people's journey, just looking at other people my age when I was 20, they were almost graduating college. They were starting careers. They were doing all these things that seemed far away from me. But I realized very quickly that my lifestyle is very different than most people. Being a military spouse really and truthfully is its own lifestyle. And a lot of people have trouble understanding why that's so difficult unless they live it. So that really helped me understand that, you know what, I'm doing what's right for me. And as soon as I stopped comparing myself to all the people that were my age, being successful, graduating college on time, if you will. It took me longer to graduate college, but it's because I moved all the time. So I wasn't able to finish. So I think those life experiences of going from job to job, taking taking a few extra years to graduate college, all of those things made me realize that I am on my own journey. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing in their life. Their journey is different than yours. And the second you stop comparing yourself and you really focus on you, you're going to do what you are meant to do. And it's okay if it takes you a little bit longer, or maybe you do things quicker than others. It's all right. You just do what's best for you and do what makes you happy. And the rest is history, honestly. I love my life, and I am so proud of the experiences I've had in such a short time. So I also wanted to touch on a little bit about what you said, how having somebody young, so much younger, be a part of your team. And it's true because a lot of people are hesitant to give someone a chance who's younger. Maybe they don't have the experience on their resume. And I always am the first to say, your resume doesn't matter. I really do believe that it just takes giving somebody one chance. And that's what somebody did for me. Somebody gave me a chance and I have turned out just fine. So I love to be that person that tells other people, just give them a chance, because it really does make a difference. And age does not mean anything.
It's wonderful advice. And I will add to that before we wrap up that if you're hiring somebody to work for you remotely, pay them what they're worth. pay them. Don't consider that somehow that's a discounted role. If you want someone to invest in your business, invest in them. And they will be valuable partners and appreciate the relationship with you. So please pay them what they're worth.
I agree.
Yes, of course. So where can people find you and follow you and be ready when you are ready to roll out your course?
So my website is www.courtneykco.com. So you can find me there. That's where the course will go live. And then there's also an About Me section about the services that I offer or other VAs that work with me offer. And then there's also a fun little part where you can contact me. So my email's there, but on social media, my handle is at Courtney P. Kallfelz, which should be in the notes below to help you spell that, because that's a hard one. But that's where you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, same thing. But really and truthfully, the website, or email me, Courtney@CourtneyKco.com. I am happy to help at any expense and hopefully find you a badass virtual assistant just like me.
Just like her, except she's mine, but just like her. So thank you so much for joining me on the Align Women podcast today, Courtney. It has been delightful to have you and to have you share your story with everyone.
Thank you, Amy. I am so happy to be here.
And look for more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to the Align Women podcast. You can find more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com and visit alignwomen.org to learn more about our leadership and networking organization. This is Amy Evans, and you've been listening to the Align Women podcast.